He remembers being young and believing that marriage would be simple, easy, romantic, safe. He believed love would fix everything, reduce stress, simplify life, and bring certainty in a chaotic world. But today, he knows better. Not bitter, just clearer. Because for mature men, some of the loudest lies they ever believed were about marriage itself. This isn't about blame, it's about waking up. These are 10 dangerous lies single men still believe about marriage, and the truth every man over 50 deserves to know. Soft comment invitation. If you've ever realized that peace matters more than promises, leave a comment. I see it now. Lie 1. Marriage will reduce stress. When you're single, it's easy to imagine that sharing life with a partner means sharing life's burdens and cutting them in half. You picture yourself coming home after a long day, greeted by warmth, peace, and understanding. The bills will be discussed calmly over dinner, and worries will feel lighter because you're not carrying them alone. The house will be filled with care and comfort. But the truth is rarely that simple. Many married men discover that the stress of life doesn't disappear, it just shifts shape. Instead of worrying about taxes or work deadlines alone, they find themselves worrying about moods they can't predict, arguments that simmer beneath polite smiles, and emotional silences that feel heavier than words. Suddenly, stress isn't just external. It lives inside the home. He learns to read subtle cues, a glance that lasts too long, a tone that feels off, a sigh that signals another invisible tension. He starts walking on eggshells not because he's weak, but because he's trying to keep the peace. And that act itself becomes exhausting. Marriage, for many men, doesn't reduce stress. It personalizes it. It brings it closer to the heart, wrapping it in emotional ties that are far more draining than professional challenges. The home, once imagined as a refuge, sometimes becomes the very battlefield where his peace is lost. So no, marriage doesn't always divide stress. Sometimes it doubles it. Lie 2. A dual income means more free time. A common belief among single men is that 2 incomes equal a lighter load. You imagine shared bills, a bigger budget, and therefore more freedom to travel, to pursue hobbies, to enjoy the finer things without feeling constrained. But when reality arrives, it tells a different story. A second income doesn't automatically translate into more free time. Often, it means more joint decisions, more compromises, and more we that replace me. Your Saturdays, once reserved for fishing, golfing, or simply doing nothing at all, quickly fill up with household projects, family obligations, or errands you didn't sign up for. You may have envisioned lazy weekends together, but instead find yourself in endless negotiations. Can we stop here first? Can we visit my family? Let's plan this party. And because your time is now shared time, your calendar fills faster than your wallet. Even vacations, once thought of as relaxing, can feel like work compromises on destinations, activities, and expectations. A dual income may boost the bank account, but it often reduces the space you once had to simply breathe, think, and enjoy your time on your terms. For many men over 50 who have lived both realities, the lesson is clear. Money isn't the true currency of freedom, time is. And time, once divided in a marriage, rarely feels like your own again. Lie 3. Marriage will make you healthier. We're told that a spouse will help us live longer, eat better, and exercise more. The old saying goes, married men live longer. And for some, that's true. But beneath that surface is a reality few talk about. Marriage doesn't guarantee health, it often complicates it. Mealtime, for example, becomes a negotiation. What once was a simple matter of eating when and what you wanted now involves discussion, compromise, and sometimes subtle pressure. Even something as simple as ordering takeout can spiral into a draining debate. Didn't we have that yesterday? I thought we were eating healthier. Shouldn't we cook instead? Health routines, too, become entangled. Your partner may encourage exercise, but may also resent the time you spend at the gym. She might suggest healthier habits but resist change in other ways, creating tension rather than support. And the mental health aspect? That's where many men feel the greatest strain. The expectation that marriage will reduce loneliness or anxiety often backfires when arguments, cold shoulders, and unmet emotional needs pile up inside the home. What seemed like a path toward wellness sometimes ends up feeling like an obstacle course of compromise, negotiation, and unspoken frustrations. So no marriage itself doesn't make a man healthier. Sometimes, solitude brings a more natural peace. You eat when you're hungry, you rest when you're tired, and you move according to your rhythm, not according to discussion or duty. Lee 4. Married life means regular intimacy. Many single men equate marriage with endless intimacy, a comforting belief that once you commit, affection will flow freely and consistently. They imagine evenings filled with closeness, spontaneous passion, and the warmth of touch that heals the day's burdens. But the reality that many married men face tells a different story. Soon after the vows are exchanged, affection often shifts. The passion that seemed effortless in the early days fades into routine. The spontaneous touches that once sparked connection become rare, replaced by tired evenings, distractions, or quiet distance. Stress enters the bedroom uninvited from work, from children, from life's endless responsibilities. Physical intimacy becomes less about desire and more about timing, negotiation, or obligation. Instead of, can't keep our hands off each other, it's, are we too tired tonight? For many men over 50 reflecting on past marriages, this is a sobering realization. Commitment doesn't guarantee closeness. In fact, familiarity can dull desire. The same partner who once felt like an endless well of affection may become emotionally preoccupied or physically withdrawn. And what was imagined as a lifelong fountain of physical closeness can feel like a desert dry, silent, and disappointing. Marriage does not automatically secure intimacy. Real intimacy requires more than proximity or paperwork. It requires mutual desire, effort, presence, and even then, life has a way of interrupting what once felt easy. Lie 5. A spouse will help make sense of life. There's a deeply comforting belief embedded in the idea of marriage, that a good partner will help you figure life out, that two heads, two hearts, and two souls can combine into a shared clarity, a union that gives meaning to the messiness of the world. But for many men, the reality feels far from that ideal. Instead of receiving clarity, they find themselves explaining over and over again why they feel tired, why they need solitude, why they seem withdrawn. The hope that a partner would help interpret life's complexities is replaced by endless attempts to defend or justify the very way they live and think. The dream that a spouse will be a sounding board turns into a reality where she becomes another source of noise, opinions, advice, criticisms sometimes helpful, but often adding to the confusion. Rather than feeling guided or understood, many married men experience being second-guessed or misunderstood. Their inner world, once hoped to be shared, remains private not because they want it to, but because efforts to share it are met with misinterpretation. For men over 50 who have reflected on this pattern, the lesson is simple but profound. Marriage does not automatically bring emotional clarity or wisdom. Sometimes it brings competing narratives, mismatched perspectives, and the realization that a shared life does not always mean a shared mind. Lie 6. Marriage will strengthen your social life. For single men approaching marriage, there's often an optimistic assumption that their social world will expand, that with a partner comes double the friends, double the invitations, double the warmth of shared gatherings and community. But what many men discover is that marriage often has the opposite effect. Slowly, his old friends stop calling not because they no longer care, but because time becomes scarce. Weekends fill up with couple commitments, family visits, and obligations that leave little room for spontaneous golf games, late-night conversations, or solitary adventures. The calendar, once filled with his own choices, shrinks around another person's needs, preferences, and social circle. Invitations are weighed not by personal desire, but by whether they work for both of us. And over time, the friendships that once defined and nourished him begin to fade. Even worse, the friendships he does maintain may be quietly resented or scrutinized. Questions like, "Why do you still spend time with him?" Or, "Why do you need a guy's night?" become common refrains. For many married men, especially those over 50 looking back, the truth is clear. Far from enriching his social life, marriage often isolates. His circle tightens not because he chose solitude, but because his independence became conditional. Friendships require time, spontaneity, and freedom. Three things marriage can quietly erode, even with the best intentions. Lee 7. Marriage means constant companionship. It's an alluring belief that marriage cures loneliness, that with a partner by your side, there will always be someone to talk to, sit with, lean on. For many single men, this idea becomes a powerful motivator to never feel alone again. But the truth is far more complex and, at times, more painful. Many married men discover that being physically near someone does not guarantee emotional closeness. They sit at the same dinner table, watch the same television shows, sleep in the same bed, and still feel isolated. Sometimes, this loneliness cuts even deeper than solitude itself because it happens silently, invisibly. It's possible and common to feel utterly alone inside a marriage. Emotional companionship isn't a byproduct of legal vows or shared addresses. It requires emotional presence, patience, and effort every day. And when one or both partners withdraw into resentment, busyness, or fatigue, marriage can become the loneliest place of all. For men over 50 reflecting on their past marriages, this is one of the hardest truths to admit. That sometimes he felt most unseen precisely when he wasn't alone. So no, marriage doesn't guarantee companionship. In fact, without mutual effort and emotional care, it can amplify a deeper kind of isolation, one that single men rarely expect. Lie 8. Marriage provides freedom from dating. Many single men see marriage as the finish line after years of awkward dates, disappointing matches, and superficial small talk. They think, once I'm married, I can stop performing. No more first impressions. No more competing for attention. No more exhausting emotional labor to attract someone new. But what they don't anticipate is that marriage itself often demands a new kind of performance. Inside the home, many married men discover they're still being evaluated. Why didn't you say that differently? You're not as attentive as you used to be. You don't make me feel appreciated anymore. What once felt like dating pressures from outsiders becomes the same pressure from within the marriage. And it's relentless because there's no going home to unwind, you're already home. Older men, reflecting on their lives, recognize this dynamic clearly. Marriage may end dating apps and awkward small talk, but it introduces another constant effort to maintain peace, meet expectations, and navigate moods. So no, marriage doesn't free a man from the need to please or perform. It simply changes the stage and sometimes increases the stakes. Lie 9. Marriage is the path to purpose. From a young age, many men are taught that marriage defines adulthood, that to be married is to have a legacy, a meaningful life, and a sense of grounded purpose. But with experience comes wisdom, and for many men over 50, that wisdom sounds like this. Purpose doesn't automatically come from partnership. In fact, many men discover that their greatest growth happens after divorce, or in solitude, when they finally have time to listen to themselves, cultivate their passions, and align their lives with their own values, rather than constant compromise. Purpose is deeply personal. It's tied to one's sense of freedom, peace, clarity, and alignment, not simply to being part of a couple. For some men, marriage may amplify purpose if it's built on mutual respect and shared vision. But for many others, it distracts from it, burying personal meaning under a pile of household chores, arguments, and constant negotiation. Men who've lived through decades of adult life know this well. Marriage isn't a rite of passage to purpose. It's an optional chapter. And sometimes, the most meaningful purpose begins exactly where marriage ends. Lie 10. The perfect woman will fix it all. Among the most dangerous lies single men believe is this one: that finding the right woman will make marriage easy, joyful, and endlessly fulfilling. That compatibility, connection, peace, all of it will fall into place the moment they meet her. But older men, men who have lived long enough to see behind this fantasy, know better. Even the most wonderful, loving, well-meaning partner is still human. She will have her moods, her history, her preferences, her emotional needs. No woman, no matter how perfect she may seem, at first can erase a man's internal struggles or automatically harmonize with his rhythm. In fact, believing that the right woman will fix everything often sets both people up for disappointment. Expectations soar, patience fades, and when reality sets in that marriage is work, that differences remain, that misunderstanding still happens, resentment can quietly take root. For men over 50, this is a sobering truth, learned through experience. Marriage is not about perfection. It's about acceptance, discernment, and clarity. The perfect woman doesn't exist. And more importantly, no partner should be expected to fix a life that requires a man to first fix himself. So know the next relationship won't magically heal what needs attention inside. And chasing perfection simply postpones the work every man must do on his own. Marriage can be beautiful. It can be nurturing, stabilizing, and deeply meaningful, but only when entered with eyes wide open. For many mature men, the most dangerous thing about these lies isn't that they're false. It's that they sound comforting when you're lonely. They give hope that love will solve your stress, structure your time, heal your body, expand your friendships, fill your home with companionship, free you from dating, give you purpose, and finally, that the right woman will make it all easy. But clarity is more powerful than hope alone. The truth is, marriage is neither a cure nor a guarantee. It is a relationship between two imperfect people, with all the complexity that implies. And while it may offer moments of joy and closeness, it also comes with risks to your time, peace, identity, and freedom. That's why many men over 50 choose solitude with intention. They're not cold. They're not bitter. They're clear. They understand that peace isn't something you inherit from a relationship, it's something you protect within yourself. So, if you're a man who has seen through these lies, if you've learned that happiness isn't handed to you at the altar but built inside your own life, then you are far from alone. Leave a quiet comment below. I'm not bitter. I'm just clear. Because at this stage of life, clarity itself is peace.